Gina and Moses.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you're right.
Was his faith cemented at that point? That he would
doubt it.
have, stood by his faith, or was he,
Well,
he still had a journey ahead of him, so
right.
he ran.
yes, but get this, Kenny's right. He's the son of a guy who killed a whole village. All right. That wasn't by faith.
Yeah.
Okay, so when he ran, was he operating by faith? No.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Mommy
It
and
wasn't-
daddy and
Yeah. Okay.
That's some kind of DNA.
So you've got that. So he's got that. He's run. Pharaoh heard about it. So he was after him. So he fled from the face of Pharaoh, went to the land of Midian. Okay. Did he know where he was going when he went to Midian? Did he know why he was going to Midian? Why Midian?
he just beat the feet to get out of. He's running.
Well, yeah. All right. Okay. But if you go back and you look at Midian, you find out that Midian actually is also a descendant of Abraham.
But maybe his faith wasn't strong enough at that point to stand up to Pharaoh, maybe, because he hadn't.
I don't know.
Well, there wasn't any Egyptian influence in the, I think.
Maybe by then the
There
Pharaoh
was
realized.
free of Egyptian influence
Midian, far enough away. You're
Yeah,
saying
far
that
enough away.
he just wouldn't have been.
across the Gulf of Aqaba. Whereas the Egyptians had a military presence in places in Sinai.
Yeah.
They had some mines.
So he would have had to go farther.
And if you'd gone to Canaan, there was some Egyptian influence up there. I think, contact back and forth.
In Canaan, the main trade route went right through Canaan from Egypt to Babylon, the rest of the world like that way. So yeah, definitely an Egyptian influence there. When Jacob died and they took his body back to that area, they took all the Egyptians. They didn't say, "Oh, we're just going to send." They said, "No, we're going to take a whole bunch of Egyptian officials and that kind of stuff went to help bury Jacob." So it was a big deal. In Canaan, when all these Egyptians showed up then. So yeah, you're right. There was some influence there. So Midian, for one, out of the way. All right. Two, Midian as a group is still a relative. Okay. Still somebody you can go to and say, "All right, I'm kind of related to you. I'm a great grandson of Abraham, and you're a great grandson of Abraham." Okay. So Moses.
So where do we have Moses?
We've got him.
Is he running? Is he at the bush yet?
No,
Where we got?
we skipped. That's the thing. We skipped over that. All right. We went
Back to our
from,
timeline.
in Hebrews, we went from Moses leaving Egypt to the whole nation keeping the Passover.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, gotcha.
And then the next thing by faith is they passed through the Red Sea as dry land.
Yeah.
Exodus 14, all right? They left in Exodus 13. They got to this place, they're heading up to a certain area, basically heading up toward that trade route, which had all the military presence that Roy was talking about, sorry. All the military presence. And so rather than go there, God says, "Hey, go down and head down this direction here." And so they end up by the Red Sea. Okay. And God tells Moses ahead of time, this is what's going on. Hey, tell them you're going to go to Camp Hiroth, and between Migdol and the sea, okay, opposite. And so he gives some places where he knows where it is. And there's been some studies who have actually found some of these spots. So camp by the sea, camp by the sea, all right. And he says, Pharaoh's going to say of the children of Israel, they're bewildered in the land. They're children. Why would they go there? In other words, they got off the track. They ended up, they're out in the wilderness. We're going to get them.
And their backs against the sea.
All right, we're going to get them. All right. But he tells them, do this. You're basically setting a trap. I'm going to gain honor over Pharaoh and over all his army. Okay. So he took his 600 choice chariots and all the chariots with all the people, and he pursued the children of Israel. Chariots were the tanks of the day. All right, that's a lot of firepower.
600, yeah.
Well, 600, that's the choice ones, but then he's got all the other ones too. You tell how many there were. It was a whole army of Egypt, essentially. Everything that was close enough that Pharaoh could
And all the
activate right
chariots of
away.
Egypt, yeah.
Okay,
And he lost all of it.
exactly.
Mhm.
And the Egyptians pursued them, all the horses, chariots. Pharaoh, his horsemen, his army overtook them, camping by the sea. And when Pharaoh drew near, they looked up, they saw the Egyptians coming, and they were afraid, and they cried out to the Lord. And they said to Moses, okay, they cried out to the Lord, but they turned on Moses. Look, were there no graves there? Couldn't you have had us die there? Didn't we tell you, leave us alone when we serve the Egyptians? They pretty much did earlier on when he first came there. He went to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh started making their burdens harder, and they said, you're not helping any here. All right. And Moses says, just don't be afraid, stand still, see the salvation of the Lord. All right.
Have to see at our backs and the army in front of us.
The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. And then the Lord says to Moses, why says, what are you talking to me about? Well, why cry to me? Tell him to go forward. Okay. Because here's the thing. I already told you at the beginning of the chapters, I already told you there is just go forward. Okay, but lift up your rod, stretch your hand over the sea and divide it. They're going to go through on dry ground. Okay. So army of or the nation of Israel is camped by the sea. The army of Egypt is coming in. The cloud that was kind of leading them moved around behind them, between them and Egypt. Between them and Egypt. It came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. Okay, it was darkness on one side where the Egyptians were, and it gave light by night to the other. Okay, so that the Israelites weren't terrorized sitting in the dark. They had light to see by. Okay. And the Lord caused the sea to go back with strong wind all that night, turned it into dry land, and the children went into the middle of in the midst of the sea on the dry ground. The waters were a wall to them on their right and on their left. Okay, now
It's amazing.
2 million people. All right, basically the greater Cincinnati area, all the people there, moving through this corridor of water on either side, walls on either side. Now I don't know about you guys. If I'm walking along that and I'm going, and I'm next to the thing, I want to go.
It's like going through a canyon and not.
Yeah,
It wasn't. I bet your mother would be telling you, don't do this.
That's right. Put your hands in your pockets.
But it just wasn't that the water kind of separated and gave them a path through. It's specifically dry.
That's
Totally dry. They weren't walking through mud.
Dry
It was
land.
dry land.
And a wall. The other thing it says is it was a wall
Mm-hmm.
on either side.
And if the wind came through and just blew it aside, that's not a wall.
You know what? If I'm in Pharaoh's army and I see that, I say,
Well, he wasn't.
I would say,
His ego got ahead of him.
So
they can do that.
The children of Israel went into the midst of the water on the dry ground. Okay. Now, the strong wind been blowing all night, theoretically. Okay. Made the sea dry land and the waters were divided. So they see this thing divide. All right. Now you got to get 2 million people. We're not talking about a narrow corridor. We're talking about something a pretty big corridor. All right. You got to get 2 or 3 million people through it, and a lot of flocks. You're talking about a lot of passing, a lot of plus a whole army's got to get in. Yeah. Okay. So all this stuff gets through. And the Egyptians pursued them. All right. And went in, and yeah, if I'm an Egyptian, I'm looking at that and going,
I hear my wife calling.
Ego gets the best of you sometimes.
okay. So he troubled the Egyptians. Look, he took off, the Lord looked down on the army of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and stuff, troubled the army. He took off their chariot wheels. All right, so that they didn't, it's just, I mean, driving along, the chariot wheel just falls off. Like, I'm gonna go back and get my mechanic about this, this is the problem. All right. And they said, hey, you're talking about, let us flee from the face of Israel. The Lord fights for them against you. By this time, they're already in the sea. Okay. They said, went after them into the midst of the sea. And they got there, they started falling apart. And they said, we need to get out of here. Too late. The Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the sea if the waters may come back. And the sea returned to its full depth. But the children of Israel, not one of them remained. Nobody. Okay. Army of Pharaoh. Here's a question I have. It doesn't say it in here specifically. Was Pharaoh at the head of his army?
I bet he was waiting in the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the children of Israel
Yeah.
walked on dry land in the midst of the waters. Waters will wallow them on the right and left. Repeats it. So I mean, that's okay. So the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. Here's the other thing. They saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. It wasn't just wash my universe, No, they're
floating up on
dead
washing
on the
up.
seashore, washing up on the shore. Okay.
There's a video called The Exodus Revealed that I used to have years ago, but I looked it up on YouTube. And it shows this is across the Gulf of Aqaba. Gulf of Aqaba is part of the Rift Valley fault. So it's like 5,000 feet deep normally. But in this one area on the Gulf of Aqaba, there's a big beach that extends out into it from the west side to the Sinai side, or Sinai Peninsula side, and there's also a beach on the east side. And in between where erosion dirt has just kind of flowed down into the Gulf and filled up that big trench. So that there's kind of
A causeway.
a path, a causeway across. But it's like 2,000 feet down at the deepest point. So that, and then they found coral in the shapes of chariot wreckage.
Yeah.
They show pictures of them.
So by faith, they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, whereas the Egyptians attempting to do so were drowned. By faith.
How do you experience something like that and not have the faith that would endure forever after that? I mean,
If you didn't have the faith, you think at least you would have fear. I'm not messing with this. Whatever the man says, I'm doing.
yeah, I
If
mean,
you look at the end here, so the people feared the Lord
Yes.
and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. All right. Until they got
but
thirsty.
how long did it last?
Until they got thirsty, about 3 days. All right.
That's
And then after
crazy.
that, about another 10 days for hunger. All right.
I can not trust after that. We're just so weak.
Yeah.
We gotta know, it's gotta be proven every day. That's not faith.
There's a lot of people in California that I think are pretty messed up.
Oh, yeah.
This is a bunch of
They can
people that,
secede from the country anytime they want. It's fine.
Okay, go. So the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. All right. Back to Hebrews 11. Okay. By faith they passed through the dry sea. So that's and now from there we skip 40 years. The rest of Moses' life, we're done with Moses. And now we're talking about the same nation. Okay. Because here's the thing. By faith, it's not by faith Moses, by faith, the people of Israel, passed through the Red Sea. Okay, and by faith, the walls of Jericho fell down after that. Again, marching around it once for 6 days, and the seventh day. What a mess. So Joshua chapter 6. Let's get you some context here. They get to the edge of they get to the Jordan River. Okay, they've already deposed and destroyed 2 kingdoms already under Moses. Moses dies. Joshua is the new leader. They get to the Jordan River, close to it, and Moses sends a couple spies to go. Okay, let's just go check out Jericho. Okay, that's our first major city. Not it's real close to the river here. It's our first major city. First place we're going to have to go into to attack. Go check it out. All right, so he sends 2 guys there. They have a little adventure and that kind of stuff, and then they come back. We'll talk about the adventure here in a little bit. They come back. They sit there. So then they cross the river. Okay, now this is a whole nother generation. All the people who went through the Red Sea, who were over 20, were gone. They're dead. So now you got their kids going across the Jordan, which was flooded at the time, because it was the worst time in the world to cross the river is when it's in the time of the season of the year that it's flooded. All right, but yet that's when God took them to that. And so the Ark of the Covenant
Water
goes
runs
in.
the fastest too.
Yeah, the priests start to step into the edge of the water, and the water goes, and it tells us that a little bit farther up the river, the water just piled up. It just piled up there. It just, okay. And they didn't see that, but they must have heard that. Joshua must have heard from the people around. This is what happened. The water just started piling up here, and the rest of it didn't go any farther than this point right here. For however long it took this 2 million people, because even though all the people had died, they had been replenished. And if you read the census that they did when they left Egypt, and the census that they did before they went into Jericho, after all, they're almost the exact same numbers. Okay, there's that many. There's still 600 and some thousand fighting. All right. So they take the ark, they cross the Jordan, and once they get across the Jordan, then they say, okay, we're gonna break camp here. Now we're in enemy territory. We're going to camp here at Gilgal, and all of you guys who were born and through the Exodus, you've not been circumcised yet. We're going to circumcise everybody. Okay, now here's the thing. This is the same territory now where, to go back to Simeon and Levi, their sister was raped. Okay, the guy wanted to marry her. All right, and she said, and they said to him, well, the only way we'll let you do that is if your entire village gets circumcised so that you're like us. And they said, yeah, we'll do that. So they're also, so here's the thing, while what it tells us is while they were all still in pain, Levi and Simeon went in and killed all the men. Okay, they get into enemy territory, and Joshua says, hey, we need to circumcise all you men, you grown men who didn't get circumcised as babies in the wilderness. We need to circumcise you. So they go into enemy territory and they disable their army. And then they observe the Passover. It comes from, it's okay, it's time, we're gonna do the Passover. Okay, so they have their 7 days, and do all this stuff in enemy territory. All right. Joshua already has the report from his spies about Jericho. Okay, that was 3 or 4 chapters earlier. So now, and then in chapter 5, I think it is, or 4, he's got the army. He meets the captain of the army of the Lord, who says, okay, here's your battle plan for Jericho. And just to let you know that there's a whole invisible group that you don't see. Again, we talked about seeing the stuff that's invisible. All right, he had this interaction with the army or the captain of the army of the Lord. All right, so skipping through all that stuff and coming to the point where he just says the walls of Jericho fell down. Okay, Jericho's shut up. All right, no one came in, no one came out. Okay, they were basically under us, and just Israel hadn't even started doing anything. They were just that afraid. Or here's the army. They just came. First off, they spent 4 years in the wilderness and survived. Okay, they destroyed utterly 2 kingdoms on the other side of the river. They crossed the Red Sea on dry land and destroyed Pharaoh's army. So they left 1 major and 2 smaller armies entirely destroyed in their way. So Jericho's shut up. Okay. We've got no one's going in, no one's going out. All right. And this could very well be because the 2 spies came in, they knew they were there and they couldn't capture them. So okay, we're shutting the gates. No one else in or out. We don't want any other Israelites coming in, and we don't want them. So march around the city, all you men of war, go around the city once for 6 days. And the priests shall bear 7 trumpets of ram's horn before the ark. But on the 7th day, you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. Doesn't say they were blowing them before they went around, just they were carrying them with them. Okay, maybe they were, and then, all right. 7th day, the priests will blow the trumpets. They will make a long blast, and you will hear the sound of the trumpet. All the people will shout with a great shout. The wall of the city will fall down flat. And every man, so it goes, now this is 600 some men, so they pretty much encircled the city. All right, all the way around. So once the walls fall down, everybody goes straight before you, and you just destroy everything in your sight. Okay, and it was everything is I'm not sure where it is, where it says it, but everything was devoted to destruction. Okay, so all the people, all the animals, everything. Don't take anything, none of the everything's devoted. That's, you don't take anything from spoils, no spoils from this. All right, which became a problem later. We're not getting into that. Somebody acted without faith. So, okay, go march around. So they did it. Circling the city, went around at once, came back to camp. Okay. They did blow the trumpets. Here it says it. And the priests were continued blowing the trumpets the whole time they were going around. All right. 2nd day they marched around the city. They did that 6 days. Okay. 7th day they rose. All right. On that day they marched around the city 7 times. And 7th time it happened when the priest blew the trumpets. Joshua said, "Shout!" So 600,000 fighting men around the city. Trumpets blow here, and the entire group shouts with everything they got. So the people shouted, and when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, they shouted with a great shout, and the wall fell down flat. The evidence around Jericho is that the walls were pushed out, but they fell out. They didn't fall in; they fell out. Every man went up to the city, and they took straight before him. They took the city, utterly destroyed all the city, both man and woman, young and old, oxen, sheep, and donkey were engaged. So, okay, except okay. So back to Hebrews. The walls of the city fell down after they were encircled 7 days by faith. And by faith, Rahab did not perish. By faith, did not perish with those who did not believe. Okay. See how faith? They didn't. She didn't perish. Okay. When she had received the spies with peace. Okay, so here's what happened to those two spies. Go back to Exodus, no, I'm sorry, Joshua 2. Okay. Sent two men and said, go view the land, especially Jericho. All right, they came to the house of a harlot named Rahab and lodged there. Now, I don't want to get really crass here, but these guys went into the house of a harlot and stayed the night. Okay. It was told the king, behold, they've come here from the children of Israel to search out the country. So somebody recognized them, saw they went there. All right. He sent to Rahab, bring out the men who've come to you, and she hid them. All right. They've entered your house, they've come to search out the country. And so she hid them. So yeah, they came, but they left. I don't know where they are. Well, she had hidden them up on the roof. And the men pursued them all the way to the Jordan. Okay. And as soon as they pursued them, they shut the gate. Okay, and we said the gate was shut, that they were shut up. And then she came up on the roof and said, look, I know, this is her faith. I know the Lord has given you the land. And the terror of you has fallen on us. All the inhabitants of the land are faint-hearted because of you, for we've heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea. And what you did to the two kings of the Amorites, Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. And as we heard these things, our hearts melted. Now, therefore, swear to me by your word, by the Lord, since I've shown you this kindness, that you will show kindness to my father's house and give me a true token. Spare my father, mother, my brothers, sisters, all that they have, and deliver our lives from death. So we know you're going to come in. You've utterly destroyed everybody else. You're going to come in. You're going to utterly destroy everybody here. I can get that. I don't want to be a part of that. And I know this is so. And so what they did is when they left, they said, put this line of scarlet cord in your window. Because she lived on the wall, she let him out through the window. Put this line of scarlet cord there. All right. And anybody who was in your house, and they didn't know the walls were going to, at this point, they didn't know the walls were going to fall down. But if I know the walls are going to fall, I'm not going to tell her stay in the house that you live in the wall. They didn't know that, but they made this promise to them by the Lord. Anybody who's in here with you, anybody from your household that's in here with you, they'll be safe. We're not going to kill them. But if they're outside the door, their blood's on their own head. Okay. But if anybody who is in this house, if something happens to him, his blood will be our head. Will be on our head. Okay. But if you tell us business of ours, we'll be free from the oath which you move to swear. Or you tell anybody that where we were, how we got out, and I'm going to deny it. Yeah. So, and she agreed, according to your words, so be it. And she bound the scarlet cord in the window. Okay. They got back safe to Joshua, gave him a heads up, and basically they said, oh yeah, truly the Lord has delivered all the land into our hands. Indeed, all the inhabitants of the country are faint-hearted because of this. So that's what happens with Rahab and why she is in this hall of faith, if you will, in Hebrews 11. Okay. She's not even an Israelite. And here's the other interesting thing about her.
She was a harlot.
Yeah, on top of that.
Exactly. So here's another interesting thing about Miss Rahab. Rahab's mentioned 12 times in the scripture. All right. 5 times in Joshua, 2 times in the Psalms and Isaiah, both which are both. I looked at both of them, and they're both a little. I'm not sure what exactly that meant. But Rahab, interestingly enough, is mentioned in Matthew chapter 1. Oops, let me read the full chapter. Okay. Matthew starts his gospel of Jesus Christ with genealogy from Abraham. Abraham begat Isaac, Isaac begat Jacob, Jacob begat Judah and his brothers, Judah begot Sarah and Zerah, blah, 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 blah. Nashon begot Salmon, Salmon begot Boaz by Rahab. Okay, Boaz begot Obed by Ruth.
No, my goodness. And what's where the lineage leads,
Exactly. All right,
because of
Obed to Jesse to David, who begat Solomon from someone else who wasn't, who had been someone else's wife. All right. All the way. Jesus, who was called Christ. Okay, so. That,
So I have an old note here that these people were a mess. Jesus took the mess. And turned it into his message.
yes. All right, so that's Hebrews 11, Moses through Rahab. All right, now. Have you guys ever heard of elephant hurling before? Elephant hurling is when you're in a logical or in a discussion or something, and you see it all the time. I explain it, you know, I see it all the time from politics. When you start listing off a bunch of examples of something with no reference whatsoever. Okay. And you see it, you'll see it especially in politics. All right. They'll start talking, if someone's trying to make a point, they'll start throwing all sorts of examples of something out. May or may not be true, may or may not, you know, what is that? Okay. This is the one place in the scripture where I look at it and say, it's almost elephant hurling. Okay, the next few verses here. All right. All the way down to 38. All right. So 32 to 38, he says, what else can I say? Time doesn't have enough to tell me of Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, David, Samuel, and the prophets. And they talked about they subdued kingdoms, they worked right, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, work out. All right.
Yeah.
Who are all these guys? So that's your task for next week. All right. Marvin, who couldn't be here this week, I already talking about this. He's going to study Gideon and tell us who Gideon was. Who wants to do Barak? All you gotta do is look him up. You can take the name right out of Hebrews here, copy paste it in the search, find out where he is and learn his story. Okay, and why he's in the Hall of Fame. I'm not doing it. You guys, this is time for you to figure out how we get this information and go back in and find it yourself.
I'll take them.
Who is that, Lee?
Yeah.
Okay, Lee's got Barrett. Terry, can you write this down for me?
Are you gonna hold me to it? Oh, this is being recorded.
Yeah. Samson? Who wants to do Samson? You guys have heard the story of Samson before. Someone's gonna jump up and say, I'll do Samson because you.
You watch the movie.
Samson?
and what are we supposed to?
You're gonna go look him up and find out the story, why he's in this Hall of Fame. What it was that was important about him that makes him. You got Samson?
Part of the faith.
All right. Dennis has Samson. Jephthah. Who wants to look this guy up? Roy's got Jephthah. All right. David. That's really too easy. All right. But it's a lot of reading if you want to really figure out what David did. All right. Kenny and Bill, you guys are not allowed to. I'm going to assign you guys some. All right. All right.
I should have volunteered.
Yeah, too late. All right. David, you got David.
Barack, he's the president.
I got David.
All right.
That's
So,
my favorite.
so Jim's got David and Samuel. Who's left? You got Samuel?
I'm not sure. Kathy's going back into a doctor next week.
Is she?
So
Okay.
I'm not sure I'll be there.
You got Samuel, Kevin?
I'll do Samuel, but you're gonna put Goat and Denny with it.
Okay, did you hear that, Denny Bungo?
Is he on there?
He's here. Oh,
He's on there.
muted.
Okay.
So Denny, you're muted, so I can't hear if you're responding, but,
Dell.
Kevin.
I'm here.
All right, so Kevin is going to going to take Samuel, but he wants you and, Joe to be involved too. All right? Okay, everybody, who else? Terry?
Now, you're talking about, hold on a minute. You talking about Solomon or Samuel?
Samuel, you're gonna dig into
Okay.
Samuel. This whole thing of what did Samuel do that got him in the Hall of Faith? And you can just, there's a
Okay.
lot of things that Samuel did that could get him in there. Pick a couple. All right?
Okay,
You're each gonna have, 3 to 5 minutes or something, so there's a lot of stuff to cover, but we want you to show us where in the scripture this happened. Okay?
okay.
All right.
Hey, guys, I have to leave. I was late last week and I got several customers, so I got to leave. But anyway,
All right,
God bless
thanks,
you all. All
Bless you.
right, see you.
All right, so. And he says Samuel and the prophets. Okay. We're not gonna get through the prophets, all right? We're not gonna do that, but here's the thing, who through faith subdued kingdoms, worked righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword. Okay? Now, Terry, you're gonna talk about stopping the mouths of lions. Okay, and quenching the violence of fire. You got those two. I'm gonna give you this clue, they're both in Daniel, all right? And actually, there's someone else is gonna run into it when who's doing Samson? You're doing Samson, you're gonna run into a thing with a lion there too when you study him. Okay. But subdued kingdoms, obtained promises, worked righteousness, escaped the edge of the sword. Okay, Bill, Kenny, you guys are gonna have to go in and find a place where by faith a kingdom was subdued. All right, or an army was subdued, and there's a number of examples of it, and that's why he just kind of elephant here. Subdued kingdoms, there's like tons of examples of that. All right, but get us a couple specific that we haven't already talked about. There was Sihon and Og on the other side of Jordan don't count. All right, Jericho, none of let me put it this way. None of the conquest of Canaan that Joshua did counts. It's got to be something after that. Subduing kingdoms. Oh, and here's the other one. All right. So, Bill, you're going to do the thing about subdued kingdoms. Kenny, you're going to do women receive their dead raised to life again. Okay, I just changed that up on you. You got that?
Yep.
All right.
I'm glad you got that one, Kenny, because I was gonna ask about that one today. That's an easy one. Women receive dead, raised to life again.
It's going to be when you're probably going to run across one of them while you're looking for the subdued. You might. All right. Good luck with that. Okay, so that's the assignment. All right. So next week, that's what you guys are going to do. And you're going to have 3 to 5 minutes to say, here's where it is in the scripture, and we'll all look it up and find the passage there. Okay. I'm not really looking for you to do a full discussion. Just find the examples that he's talking about, because he's elephant growing, but they're all in there. Okay. The only one that may not be able to be found in the